Hello, this is Jimmy Moyle with Head First Baseball. On today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about different pitches. The last video, we talked about fastballs and fastball grips. Wanted to do another video to kind of follow up with that, to talk a little bit about different pitches, kind of what our goals are with that. I think it's important to remember, and I get this question a lot, about the difference between a pitch and a grip. So a grip is any way that you hold the baseball. A pitch is the angle of your hand, wrist, and forearm at the point of release. So for example, if I let go of the ball here, I release the ball with my thumb straight out to the side, that's a fastball. So normally a fastball would be that angle with my hand. If I were to move my thumb down at all, I would get into off-speed pitches. So a sinker, a changeup, and ultimately if I go way over here, you wind up getting a screwball. It's important to note, and I think this is important for young players to understand, is that I think it's important for them to understand what different pitches are, even though you're not necessarily going to throw all of them. So for example, I do run into occasion pitchers who are trying to throw a changeup and go a little bit too far and accidentally throw a screwball. We don't want them to throw screwballs, but it's important for them to understand what that is in case they accidentally do it. If I move my hand the other way, so if I move my thumb up, I get into a cutter, a slider, or all the way straight up would be a curveball. Again, along the same lines, it's important for pitchers, especially when they're in that 12, 13, 14-year-old middle school age and they're learning different pitches and different off-speed pitches. You're going to try a few different ones and try to figure out what is in which work best for you. The main goal with each pitch is really a balancing act between velocity and movement. So obviously a fastball is the fastest pitch you can throw, but it's also the straightest. And if we're going to give away any of our velocity, since all of the off-speed pitches will be slower than a fastball, same thing with the breaking balls, they're all going to be slower than a fastball. We want to get movement for it. And we're going to be able to do a little bit different movement on each one. So for example, if I move my thumb up, I get into cutter, slider, curve. A cutter or a slider will move sideways. So as a right-handed pitcher, my cutter or slider would move away from a right-handed hitter. If I go straight over the top curveball, that will be more of an up to down movement. If I move my thumb down, I'm going to get a pitch that's going to move away from a left-handed hitter or into a right-handed hitter. So a sinker or a changeup would be a pitch that moves away from a lefty as we throw the pitch. So ideally, in a perfect world, if I'm a 3 or 4 pitch pitcher, I can throw a fastball that's straight, I can throw a pitch that moves away from a righty, away from a lefty, and then straight down. On a similar note, other variations and kind of more specialty pitches come into play a little bit as well. And this is where grips do matter a little bit more than on kind of your basic pitches, but you get into pitches like a split-fingered fastball, or you can also go a little bit of a split change if you move your hand this way. It still accomplishes the idea of side-to-side movement, even though a split-fingered fastball will probably go more straight down, and even though it can also replace the change. The other variation on that would be a forkball, where you go halfway in between on the baseball like this. Those are two variations where the grip does matter a lot. I think there's some important things with grips, and we talk a little bit about that in our fastball pitches and grips video, but for the most part, the important thing with the off-speed pitch is the angle of your hand and trying to find that perfect angle where you're going to get the best combination of velocity and movement to be successful. Thank you very much.